Before I turn to climate, I do want to say a word or two about what we can learn from the coronavirus crisis. You see, our response to the coronavirus has already reshaped our society. It's easy to think that the virus is the cause of those changes, but that would be a mistake. The virus simply does what it does. Human beings are the ones making the decisions that shape our societies and our lives. And it's human beings and human institutions who will either lead us through this crisis to a better day or find the virus the excuse to unleash our own fear, our own greed, our own capacity for hatred. Consider what this has meant for workers. The global labor movement has been engaged in an unceasing struggle since the virus first appeared to see that working people have the equipment, the safety protocols, and most of all, the power, dignity, and voice that we need to keep workplaces safe for everyone. Yet, despite our efforts, too many workers in critical sectors still don't have adequate protective equipment, access to testing, or paid sick days, risking exposure for themselves and their families every time they go to work. Or they can risk their family's economic security by staying home to avoid exposure. Now, this is totally unacceptable and it has to stop. In the context of the corona crisis, that starts with the common sense measures needed to hold our economy together that are in the HEROES Act passed by the US House last week, including the critical mandatory workplace safety standard for infectious disease. For working people, the injustices of the corona crisis are nothing new. In the United States, the lived experience of workers for the past 40 years is that most big changes in the economy result in harm to workers and our communities. Trade agreements that protect investors' rights, but not workers' rights. Outsourcing, deregulation, wages that lacked productivity for decades, while inequality soared and the cost of healthcare and education skyrocketed. Climate change and our response to it can either accelerate this trajectory or take us in a newer, better direction. Rising temperatures threaten the material foundations of our civilization, but they also pose enormous challenges to an economy formed on our sourcing and consumption of fossil fuels. Now, we think of coal miners and refinery workers, but real carbon job footprint includes railroads, trucks, and barges that haul oil and coal, the manufacturing supply chain that produce everything from delicate valves to huge mining machines that extract fossil fuel, the auto workers that make internal combustion drivetrains. See, we're talking about millions of largely good paying jobs with benefits and a secure retirement, and they're distributed throughout the United States. And these jobs didn't get to be life sustaining careers by accident or by the laws of economics. You see, I come from a coal mining family. And when my immigrant parents went into the mines in 1920s, a coal miner's shovel was a ticket to hunger, disease, and early death. When I went into the mines in the 1960s, we had strong unions with powerful safety committees, wages that paid for houses and college education, including mine, as well as pensions and health care. But my family's health and economic security was paid for in blood, our blood, at the hands of the Pennsylvania Coal and Iron Police and the mine owners and their dangerous mines and black lung disease. And they, like so many employers today in the coronavirus, saw our health as a cost that they couldn't afford. And the same is true for oil workers and railroad workers and auto workers and utility workers. Working people made bad jobs in the carbon economy into good jobs. We fought for every dollar, for every health benefit, for every safety device and rule. And we powered this nation in the process. See, if we treat the challenge of moving to a low carbon energy sector as though it is a matter for experts and not workers, if we act as if minimum wage jobs or staffing agency jobs is the same as a job that pays middle class wages with benefits, if our response looks like the past 40 years, with the job quality declining in the energy sector as it has in so many other sectors, then of course we can expect, indeed, will create intense opposition to action on climate change. To prevent that, we must create a politics of hope. Now remember, NAFTA went into effect in 1994. Resistance to it reverberates in our politics till this very day. Without hope, our politics are in stalemate, and we cannot make progress fast enough. Not on COVID-19, not on fixing our economy, not on reversing inequality, not on fighting racism, and not on climate change.